What's a bigger disaster right now, the Calgary Flames or the Edmonton Oilers?
Oh, that's a tough choice, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, both are absolute chaos right now. I mean, I would say Edmonton, because expectations for Edmonton were higher. Like, I think like a lot of people, thought Calgary would have a better year than last year and have a good chance of making the playoffs, but I didn't have them as a cup contender, let alone favorite. I think a lot of people did for the Oilers. And the crazy part about, what's going on for both these teams is that, generally speaking, given how close the NHL is, when your team goes through some real adversity and guys start calling each other out, a la Zadorov or Kane, and there's injuries, and like when it gets like really bad, teams have a way to just react. Like, that's because it's just tight. And when teams are so desperate, they can react to that situation by playing a couple good games and getting some results. The fact that this has happened in Alberta to both teams, and they've responded with duds, like getting shut out. Edmonton gets shellacked by Minnesota, then shut out by the Rangers, albeit Rangers are a very good team. Like, that's almost as distressing as all the other stuff that's going on, because they've sort of challenged themselves to be better, and they gave absolutely nothing that was better on the ice. That's concerning.
Yeah, it's a disaster in both spots, and I think for different purposes, like you detailed. I think in Calgary, what they were hoping was they could just attach it all to Sutter.
Yeah.
Right? It's Sutter's fault. That was the reason. Now he's gone, so everything's all good again. And the problem is, Jonathan Huberdeau, I can't even explain where this guy's at. Nazem Kadri's been terrible. Like, Naz has been awful early in the year.
And how do you do you just not want to be there? Like, you have to want to be there because you wanted to take all the money there. So what the hell's the problem?
Can you just answer your question? Like, why did Jonathan Huberdeau want to go there? I mean, respectfully,
he stayed because he got the money.
Because he signed there without ever visiting the city. He signed there like Calgary offered him a ton, and a bit of a reaction to Gaudreau and Tkachuk leaving, saying, "Look, we can get a top flight player to commit to us in our city and our province, and all the rest of it."
But he didn't have to, did he, Johnny? I don't think so.
Well, we've got $84 million there that he's not going to get anywhere else. He's probably thinking, I'll deal with it because it's going to be $20 more million than I'm going to get anywhere else, or something close to it. You know what I mean? Like, I know money can't buy you happiness, but I think he made a financial decision first, and then sort of lifestyle decision second.
Yes, that seems to continue to be the case. It's like he can't find himself. Last year, it looked like he was moping around, basically. And he was in shock. Listen, to be fair to him, he did not see that coming. He had 115 points or whatever it was, and he gets traded out of nowhere. No one saw it coming. But now you're into year two. You got a new coach. They were banking on a bounce back for him. Kadri bounce back. Markstrom to be a stud. New coach, new vibe. And they're getting booed off the ice. Zadorov's got a new soundbite every single day that is absolutely bedlam. And then, you go up the road to Edmonton, and I think it's worse because of the expectations, right? They were supposed to be a cup contending team, and they're one of the worst teams in the league. And it's not like they're getting goalied every night, or they're getting unlucky, or there's, they have all these injuries. Yes, McDavid's out. Like, I watched that game after the Leaf game last night. I thought in the third period they had a couple of chances, but they looked lifeless to me.
Nothing.
Lifeless.
Like, to think that they're playing with that, or should it be that kind of desperation, could muster absolutely zero. And you're right, Hayes, because when I look at them, it's like, if it was just Campbell and Skinner, you're like, okay, we got a goalie situation, okay. But some games, like Skinner, or was it Campbell against Minnesota, actually played well. And he gave up 7. Like, that's how bad they were. So sometimes it's the goalies, sometimes it's the defense, and most perplexingly, it's oftentimes the offense. With or without McDavid, I do not care. Like, they have other players, including a guy that a lot of people think is the second best forward in the world, in Leon Draisaitl. And so even with McDavid out of the lineup, yes, not as good in the power play 5-on-5, but still, with the kind of talent they have, they should be able to create something. And so, like, where you even begin to try to fix the Edmonton Oilers, it's hard. To me, they're not sort of designed, built, or have the personality to be a shutdown defensive team. But it feels, with everything else swirling and everything else going on, like they need to find some sort of foundational piece of, like, okay, we can play a simple game and try to win 3-2. And we got to get comfortable with that while the other stuff works itself out, because right now it is something different every night, but they're not that close. And they're like, creeping just ahead of San Jose. They're coming up on 14, 15 points behind Vegas. Like, that ship has sailed trying to win the division. Like, that's going to be long gone by the end of the weekend. And then they have both of the teams going to play outdoors. And what I'm fascinated to see is we've never seen, like, we've seen rivals and kind of close games, but we haven't seen a super desperate, chippy, physical outdoor game.
Right.
And this is two teams that should be feeling, okay, we can't sort of ease our way into this game, or, you know, maybe just kind of play it and get through it and enjoy the experience. Like, this is like desperation time all the way around. Yeah. So it could be the first sort of real greasy outdoor game, which could be interesting to watch.
It's like an outdoor bag skate is probably coming. They're probably getting bag skated outdoors, Noodles.
I think Johnny's right, though. I think, John, like, with the desperation of both teams, like, this isn't going to be like, hey, you know what, this is a show for the league, and, you know, like, let's have a nice game here. It might be a little drizzle of snow. Like, this
skate.
Awful.
Yeah. This might be a bloodbath, which is, you know, both of them deserve that, but both of them need it. But I look at it in watching that Rangers team last night. Like, when you look at teams that are able, so I thought under Gallant they were very loose, and I think under Laviolette they still have the talent, but they play a lot more like tighter, and that's where, when it comes to teams trying to adjust their system, Jay Woodcroft might almost say to them, let's go back to what we did last year. And they went man on defense. And I know that during the regular season it didn't really work, but in the playoffs, maybe they'll have to adjust, because right now what they're trying to do defensively is a mess. It's terrible.
Yes, in Edmonton it is a mess.